but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling and you take him for a friend.
Hey, what's up to all my bottom feeders out there? Today we got a special video for you. It's my mother's birthday, and she wanted me to make a video by the Democrats for her, because she's a full-fledged Democrat, and I don't know why. Sometimes I don't even think she knows why. But I made one for her. And the main speaker in this video, his name is Bishop Larry Gaiters, man. The man is serious. His researchers is out this world. Like, I don't know how they be getting all this information, but you be like, wow. And you can also look everything he say up. Like, he's not gonna say nothing he ain't got no done research on. And it's serious. So with no further ado, appreciate for all the subscribers, all the likes y'all been giving me. Appreciate y'all for real. So let's get to it.
From 1946 all the way up to 1992, the United States government performed over 1,500 tests of atom and hydrogen bombs throughout Nevada deserts, where between 250,000 to 500,000 soldiers between 1946 to 1992 had contracted cancers, leukemia, blood tumors, because they were used as guinea pigs to build the military-industrial complex and detonating through atomic and hydrogen bomb testing throughout the state of Nevada. Follow me closely here. More than 1,500 nuclear detonations held in Nevada deserts between 46 and 92, but more specifically in 1951 to 1992. In 1948, going back, Dr. Albert Hofmann, who had created LSD in conjunction to sensory deprivation. Sensory deprivation is mind control through the medication industrial complex. I got to be careful. I don't want us to get a strike, and I don't want us to be taken down. Allow me to use wisdom. MK Ultra, along with Project Midnight Climax, later served as the precursor for Stanford University's prison experiment during the 1950s and 60s, where prisoners were paid $100 and given their freedom to be traveled, to be ushered to Stanford University's psychological department, where today the Stanford University is subsidized by the Central Intelligence Agency. And so that is called the Stanford University's prison experiment through Dr. Philip Zimbardo. Then you have the Milgram experiment, where the agency recruits Black pastors going back to the 50s and 60s to infiltrate the civil rights movement, to recruit agents who then serve as guinea pigs for the continuation of not just the Milgram experiment, but also the Tuskegee experiment. The Tuskegee experiment started in 1932 all the way up to 1972. The question, who subsidized the Tuskegee Institute syphilis conspiracy? A man that is adored by Black America, okay? A man who was one of the founding fathers of the Sears Roebuck Company, okay? And a man that gave Tuskegee University $250,000, okay, for the Tuskegee Institute. Now, before I expose his name, listen. This man built the 5,000 Rosenwald schools in the South. Julius Rosenwald, the founder of the Sears Roebuck Company, who gave $100,000 to Joseph Stalin to bring about the demise of the Romanov dynasty. So this same man, Julius Rosenwald, gave a $250,000 check to Tuskegee in 1929, 2 years before his death, where 600 Black men and women were injected with syphilis. I'm not making this a black and white victimhood paradigm. My assignment, the Milgram experiment, was the successor for the Tuskegee Institute. So your Julius Rosenwald, the same devil who also was the best friend of John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller wrote a $100,000 check and gave it to Julius Rosenwald in 1929 in order for Rosenwald to give it to another best friend, Hollywood director Cecil B. DeMille, to give it to his hoe, his mistress, by the name of Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger was nothing but a trick hoe. I said it. I got the testicular fortitude to say what needs to be said. Margaret Sanger's children, 2 of the 3 don't even belong to her husband. One son belongs to Cecil B. DeMille, and another son belongs to the Hollywood actor W.C. Fields. 2 of her 3 children were not her husband's. Dorothy Taylor penned the 1939 Negro Project, which was the final solution for Black America, beginning with the extermination of Black babies. Now, Margaret Sanger, a straight up trick hoe, who told Black mothers that the most terrible place for your child to be is in your womb. Margaret Sanger said that. Every Margaret Sanger statute should be destroyed. Now, I don't believe in, committing a crime and going down, burning down buildings and statues. But through the legal system, okay, Margaret Sanger statutes must be destroyed. She also said, when she spoke, in the Silver Line City of New Jersey, in Silver Lake, New Jersey, in 29, she spoke as the guest speaker for the Ladies Auxiliary of the KKK. This is the woman who black folk love on the left. She says that black people are like human weeds that must be uprooted and exterminated. So this trick hoe who was sleeping with W.C. Fields, who was sleeping with Hollywood director of the Ten Commandments, Cecil B. DeMille, received a $100,000 check from Cecil B. DeMille, who received it from Julius Rosenwald, who had received it from John D. Rockefeller to create Planned Parenthood. 10 years later, in 1939, a black female scholar out of Chicago by the name of Dorothy Taylor wrote, as the slave for Marcus Sanger, the Negro Project for the extermination of black children. She recruited the black theological intelligentsia. Black theologians signed the 1939 Negro Project. The NAACP was not founded by black people. Stop. It was founded by Khazarians out of Eastern Europe. Oh, Lord, I want you to hear me. Listen. So the NAACP was founded by Eastern European Khazarians, okay? The Spingarn brothers, okay, created the NAACP, SNCC Core Urban League. Every black organization is controlled by people who don't look like us. So your NAACP, SNCC Core Urban League, even your Nation of Islam, founded by a white man from New Zealand. That's Farrakhan's God. So black folk don't own anything. Listen, black folk don't even own BET, okay? Mr. Johnson sold it for pennies on the dollar to Viacom. So black folk, you're still on the plantation. Not all of us, but most of you. Another topic for another day. So let's get back to the 1939 Negro Project. Dorothy Taylor recruited black pastors who signed on the dotted line for the extermination of black children called abortion. Your Boule Secret Society members, beginning with Dr. Henry McKee Menton and Brashear Jackson, all the way down to W.E.B. Du Bois, a house Negro, signed on the 1939 Negro Project. Well, who was Dorothy Taylor? Dorothy Taylor was the grandmother of Valerie June Jarrett. Valerie Jarrett's grandmother, the same Valerie Jarrett who supports little Dr. Tony Little Midget Fauci. I don't want us to be taken down or to get censored or a strike. So Valerie Jarrett, a close political confidant of Bathhouse Berry, that Valerie Jarrett, she is a eugenicist. Her father, listen, her father was a black eugenicist. Oh my God, listen. Who was the father of Valerie June Jarrett? Valerie Jarrett's father was a black eugenicist. He was a boule by the name of Dr. James E. Bowman, who died in 2011. This same Dr. James E. Bowman was a educational slave of a Khazarian devil going back to the 50s and 60s by the name of Dr. Alf Alving. Alf, capital A-L-F, Alving, capital A-L-V-I-N-G. Dr. Alf Alving and his slave, the father of Valerie Jarrett, Dr. James E. Bowman, went to the state penitentiary in Peoria, Illinois during the late 50s and 60s to inject black men, Latino men, okay, with gonorrhea and syphilis to see how the anatomy of a man would respond. That is the father of Valerie June Jarrett. So the grandmother of Valerie Jarrett, Dorothy Taylor, was a proponent for the abortion of her own people. That's your Democratic Party. The San Quentin prison experiments, subsidized by the United States government from 1913 all the way up to 1951. After World War II, the CIA from 1946 to 51 had subsidized another devil by the name of Dr. Leo Stanley. Dr. Leo Stanley was a major proponent of eugenics who was an OSS agent during the time of the Second World War. Dr. Leo Stanley would take the testicles of men and transplant that part of the man's body with the testicles of animals. I want you to hear me. Dr. Leo Stanley, okay, who was a protege, okay, of Dr. Alf Alving, who was a educational protege of the father of Valerie Jarrett, James E. Bowman. Dr. Leo Stanley would castrate men who were accused of rape and spent time in prison in San Quentin, and would destroy their testicles and would take testicles of certain animals to attach them to the private parts of a man. This is the San Quentin Project, later subsidized by the CIA. The Boston Project, from 1953 to 1957, through the Oak Ridge Laboratory outside of Boston, where Dr. William Sweet would inject uranium into black prisoners, male and female. Getting back to the Tuskegee Institute, from 1932 to 1972, for a protracted period of 40 years, 600 black farmers from the state of Alabama, unbeknownst to them, was injected with syphilis. I'm not a proponent of reparations, but in this case, I am. The only thing that the United States government did was to give an apology through Slick Willie Bill Clinton. See, black folk, the Democratic Party don't care about you. Listen. So the Tuskegee Institute, they had the ability to inject penicillin to save these men and women, but they withheld it to over 600 black male and female farmers. The CIA's University of California's experiment on newborns. 113 babies, 90% being black and Latino, were experimented on during the 1960s to predetermine blood flow pressure. 40 babies were placed on circumcision boards. 40 babies were placed on circumcision boards, and these babies were held upside down while doctors measured how blood flowed to their heads from the CIA. Their ankles of the children, of the babies, were put in cold water, where the doctors would put a catheter that was inserted within the aorta of the child to predetermine blood flow. Who supported this? Not just the CIA, the Democratic Party. Dr. Loretta Bender created the electroconvulsive therapy program on children, more than 70% being children of color. I'm not making this a color thing. This is what my brother, Dr. Darby, was exposing. So this Nazi doctor, Dr. Loretta Bender, her great-grandfather was a part of Operation Paperclip. She would test children through electroshock therapy to see how the black anatomy of a child would respond. Going back to 1947, 198 children had died because they were injected as young as 3 years old with LSD. Military experiments of mustard gas during World War II. Vanderbilt University, even today, as a side note, Anderson Cooper's mother was a Vanderbilt. Did you know Vanderbilt University, as a side note, they had received millions of dollars to this day from the United States government with the permission of the Democratic Party in connection to the CIA for sexual reassignment surgeries on children. Vanderbilt University. Vanderbilt University's vitamin drinks program. Vitamin drinks program after World War II. The OSS, which became the Central Intelligence Agency, gave 800, listen, to be soon-to-be mothers a concoction that the pregnant mother was told was a special vitamin drink, when in reality it was a radioactive iron radiation level drink 3 times higher than the normal level of radiation.
So there you have it. As you can see, the Democrats was never with so-called black people. It was always down to depopulate the so-called black people. It was always down to experiment on the so-called black people. But they was never down for the so-called black people to progress. So that should be enough too. That should be enough for you to understand what time it is. And if you don't believe anything he said, or if you don't believe something he said, just look it up. He ain't lying to you. But until next time, y'all be good, man.